Have you ever encountered someone who seemed utterly genuine, whose engaging conversations and apparent agreement felt like a true connection? But then, the mask slipped. They claimed to have your back, yet violated your trust, revealing that much of your relationship was a strategic lie. They didn't just deceive you, they asserted their will over yours, making you doubt your own perception, a true Nietzschean crisis of values. We have all been played. We've been objects in someone else's drive for power. And those who claim they haven't been manipulated are simply those who have yet to recognize the assertion of another's will against their own. As we speak, someone, somewhere, is undoubtedly planning to assert their superiority, their will to power, over you. This isn't just common, it is fundamental to the psychological warfare of human interaction. We fail to prepare because we operate under a comforting, but ultimately slave morality assumption of mutual goodwill. Scroll The Science of Power, Nietzschean Triad. It's unacceptable that the science of manipulation, which Nietzsche would call the study of the will-to-power dynamics, has done so little to empower the manipulated. We must fix this failure of affirmation. We need to understand the archetypes of those who live by a pure master morality, those who designate their actions as good simply because they are the ones performing them, rejecting the resentful good versus evil binary. For decades, researchers have studied fractured aspects of this assertion: psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, which we'll call the Machiavellian will. You've heard of the psychopath and the narcissist, but the Machiavellian will represents the true, calculated, cold-blooded expression of the will to power. Niccolò Machiavelli was a political realist who advocated for tactics free from the constraints of conventional morality. His followers are masters of manipulation because they are masters of strategy. These three forces, the Dark Triad, represent different modes of seeking power. They are the psychological expression of humanity's deepest, most life-affirming drive, the will to dominate and overcome. Lion faced the lion, the serpent, and the Übermensch. The Machiavellian is the most dangerous, not in a dark alley moment, but in the long, calculated game of life. A narcissist seeks validation for their perceived superiority, ego-driven will. A psychopath acts on immediate, impulsive gratification of their will, impulsive will. A Machiavellian weighs every action, calculating the most advantageous path to sustain power and utility, strategic will. The psychopath lacks the strategic planning necessary for the long-term assertion of power. They are driven by impulse. The narcissist is driven by their brittle ego, risking everything for external affirmation. But the Machiavellian is the master chess player, the lion you do not see, who has been planning their dominance longer than you realize. These are not flaws to be corrected, they are ingrained traits, powerful expressions of the will. We cannot fix a Machiavellian, there are no effective interventions for getting them to care about the weak, the sick, or the resentful values of slave morality. Crossed swords becoming your own master, the Machiavellian affirmation. So, is there an upside to understanding this pure, immoral will? Yes. It lies in the possibility of harnessing the non-toxic, adaptive elements of the strategic will to become an Übermensch, a self-mastering individual who overcomes conventional morality and affirms their own life and values. We must learn to use the Machiavellian strategy against them, not by succumbing to vengeful slave morality, trying to make them confess they are wrong, but by affirming our own self-preservation and future. The true art is to defend yourself without slipping into the resentful, reactive patterns that define the manipulated. Ice Cube: The Anti-Resentment Strategy, C.B.R. Machiavellians are emotionally guarded and treat people based on their utility, what Nietzsche would call their value or contribution to power. They think rationally about their self-interest. If you are stuck with a manipulative boss, a strong will to power you cannot immediately overcome, you must play the game as a strategist. It's a chess match for your own survival and future. The best way to breathe in a toxic relationship is to use the C.B.R. method: cold, bottom line, rational. Cold, emotionally guarded, their greatest weapon is your emotions. They seek to tap your guilt or vanity. Do not give them access. Treat the person as a means to an end, your paycheck, your utility, not a friend. Do not confuse their powerful will with your own weakness. Bottom line, purpose-driven, decide your ultimate goal, your master affirmation. Are you there to support your family? To gain experience? Remind yourself of this bottom line. Craft your responses to maximize this outcome and win the financial/strategic war, not the emotional battle of principles. Rational, outcome-oriented focus on outcomes, not appearances. A battle over principle is a waste of your valuable will, for they operate outside of your principles. Keep realistic goals. No manipulator will fall to their knees. Your goal is to secure your position until you can move on to a place where you can affirm your values more fully. This tactic is a last resort, a tool for self-preservation against a hostile will to power. We seek the master affirmation of mutual respect and creativity in healthy relationships. But when faced with the Dark Triad, you must understand their strategic thinking to protect your own life and value. By studying the Machiavellian will, we become aware of strategic manipulation. We can recognize the pure, calculating assertion of power. Even better, we can turn the tables, not by becoming morally corrupt, but by using strategic, cold, bottom-line, rational thinking to outmaneuver the manipulator and secure our own freedom. We've taken our first steps towards dealing with manipulation. You are now prepared to recognize the battle for what it is, a contest of wills, and you have the tools to ensure your own will prevails. Would you like me to elaborate on one of the Nietzschean concepts, e.g., the will to power or the Übermensch, and how it applies to overcoming manipulation?